Hi Sagittarius, I hope that you're all doing well. We're here with the Timeless reading. Welcome. First card that we have out is Two of Swords, and I'm also seeing Four of Swords. This is looking like seeking clarity about something, whether this is a choice that you're going to be making or you're just trying to understand something. Four of Swords is feeling like the suggestion here, or the advice here, is to actually take a bit of a break and then come back to it. This reminds me of like working on a puzzle that you're trying to solve. And you know, when you're looking at something for too long, it's like you feel like you're not getting anywhere, and you get up and get a glass of water, and then you come sit back down and you're like, oh, the solution is so easy. It feels like one of those times. So if you have something that you feel like you're stuck on right now, it's being suggested that you like take a break from it, or get a good night's sleep, or like do some breathing for a while, you know, whatever it is that you need to do to sort of take a step back from this and then come back to it. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but there's a fire alarm going off. Okay. I'm seeing High Priestess, and I'm also seeing the Tower. This feels like something that is disruptive going on. So High Priestess is something that's happening when you're in the moon space, so you can feel like very tuned in, very tapped into something, but it's also a very delicate space to be within. It's a very sensitive space to be within. When you're able to connect or be tuned in on that level, it's a vulnerable place. Like it even is like being in a dream state, and you know how like the rest of your body is sort of vulnerable when you're in that space. So to be woken up very abruptly, like something happening to sort of shake you out of that when you're in that vulnerable space, it can really do some things to you psychologically. Like think about like being in the middle of something where you think you're like safe or nothing, well, not that you're ever not safe, but you don't think that you're going to be disturbed, and you're like making some type of connection, you're feeling something. Having the Tower then come through is like being shaken out of that, but when you weren't really expecting that to happen. And then Ten of Swords is like the door slamming shut. So you can feel like I was connecting with something, I was tuned in, and then the Tower comes through and it's this abrupt thing happening that doesn't allow you to continue. So this feels like a discontinuation of something. And then the Ten of Swords is like, all right, end scene there. So you can feel sort of like you're in the middle of something, and then all of a sudden Tower and Ten of Swords comes through, and there's something ending very abruptly. But you can feel like you were in a vulnerable space when this happened. And not only that, it was also not necessarily anticipated. Moon and Mars next to each other is a very volatile energy, because the moon is like the ocean, how there are the waves, and sometimes it can be very chaotic and a lot of like rustling around, and then other times it can be very calm and still, and there's like an oscillation to the energy. The Tower is then something that ends up manifesting from that, and so it can be feeling this and then taking action immediately, like not checking that, going like I'm bypassing my mental energy completely. I'm feeling this, I'm then doing something about it, and it feels like then it slams the door shut on something, but you may not have anticipated doing this. So even if the Tower is your own energy where you did something unexpectedly, it feels like one of those things where you didn't think about it, it sort of just happened, or you sort of just did that thing. Or if this is something outside of yourself, you You can feel like I wasn't expecting this, and then I just was sort of the victim to this circumstance type of thing. But you can feel like something could no longer be contained anymore, whether it be within you or within the moment or the environment or a situation or a relationship, whatever it might be. So Two of Swords is feeling like I need to understand something, and I may need to, I'm trying to figure something out here. I may have to make a choice. Four of Cups can be a part of you that's like, I don't really want to. I need to see something, but there's a part of me that kind of doesn't want to see. Meaning, if you would look a little closer, you may very easily see the truth of something, but there can be a part of you that's like, I kind of don't want to. Just a little bit. Feeling a bit resistant. Maybe there's some difficult things that are being asked of you. I'm seeing Four of Cups and I'm seeing the World. Can kind of be like you're going through these cycles, you're going through these grades, you're going through these levels, and there can be a part of you that's like just not maybe having the best time. You can feel a bit, you can feel jaded, you can be feeling tired emotionally, energetically. Be feeling lethargic in some way, disconnected, disoriented, dissociated. Can also just be a part of you that's like, oh, when is this going to end? Like, these things have been so difficult, these things have been so challenging. I'm seeing Saturn be at play here. Saturn has you go through challenging, mundane sorts of lessons and scenarios and cycles, and there are things where it's like getting your life on track, or if you're doing something that's like not the best thing for you to be doing, Saturn comes through and it's like, I don't think so. It's kind of like Saturn is like a strict parent that wants the best for you. And also Saturn is like, well, if you're ignoring this thing, I'm going to show it to you in a way that you can't really ignore it. You know, like it's the manifestation of knowledge and seeing things and understanding things, and it's about discipline and skills that we gain too, but it takes work to be able to make those gains, and it can be difficult. Two of Swords in the World is feeling like something may be at its end here, like a cycle may be completing, and there can be a part of you that's almost like not acknowledging that. Two of Swords in the World, like you may actually be finished with something, like the karma has sort of run through. When I say karma, I mean this like a very loosely, the way that I'm saying this. It's kind of like Saturn attracts us to things because we have stuff to work out in those cycles. You may be nearing the end of a cycle where you don't really have anything left to work out because you've basically like finished the stuff that you need. It's like, let's use a metaphor of being in school. You passed all the tests, like you finished, you're graduating, but there can be a part of you that's like, I didn't graduate yet, like hold me back, like I don't want to go to the next level of things. So I feel like there's a part of you that's resistant to seeing that. Like in the grand scheme of things, you look at this and be like, wow, look at what I accomplished. But I think there's a part of you that's almost like maybe you don't really want to be done with something, but you are. So you can feel like it's losing magnetism, but at the same time, you may feel attached to it and not want to let it go yet. But I feel almost like this is an abrupt realization that you made, that something is now changing and evolving into like its next cycle of energy. And there can be a part of you that's like, I don't want it to be done yet. I don't want it to be over yet. Like you may just not feel ready, is the feeling that I get from this, Sag. It's like that part of you that's like, I was still learning that, but I'm seeing you already got it. You don't need to do any more here. But I get this like really like funny, I'm getting this really like joking, kind of like making light of things energy where it's just kind of silly. There can be a part of you that's like, I don't see it, I don't see it, I don't see it. And it's like, meanwhile, I'm seeing you like pretty much aware that it's there, but like not making direct eye contact at this realization. And so it's kind of like being put off, and your guides are like waiting around, like, okay, like, get serious now. And there's this part of you that's like, I'm not ready, like, I'm not seeing it. But I think that something's actually just finished, but not, it's finished because it's completed. Like, you did the stuff, it's done now. Like, you don't need to be there anymore. But there can be a part of you that's like, but I don't want to. I get that kind of feeling from this. It's like you don't want to recognize that you graduated. Maybe there's a part of you that's like, doesn't want to slow down. Like, Four of Cups and Four of Swords is feeling like, I don't want to take the nap. Like, I don't want to go to bed. I don't want this to be over. It feels like a resistance to the inactivity. But the inactivity is also needed because that's also where you get charged up to do the activity. But there can be a part of you that just doesn't want that right now. So you can sort of be like, I'm not seeing it, but I'm seeing it be sort of there. Like, as soon as you take the blindfold off, it's like, congratulations, you made it out of here. And I'm getting you like keeping your eyes covered because you know that that's exactly what's going to be the thing, like, as soon as you take it off. So you're like keeping your eyes shut, but you know what's going to be there as soon as you open your eyes. You already know. So this is definitely not a case of ignorance here. I'm seeing you be very well aware of what's going on here. But you could have just had a feeling about something that you're like, say it ain't so. I just see this part of you where it's like you got this like ping, 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 a message coming through and you picked up on it. But there can be a part of you that's like, I want to pretend that I didn't see that. But it feels like it comes in the form of a realization, like something that you're aware of. And I feel like the part of you that doesn't like ending things, the part of you that like wants to keep going and doesn't want this cycle to be closing out. But you know that this is the end, is what I'm seeing. There can also be a resistance to ending something because of feeling like the lights go out, but you know the lights will turn back on then. But maybe there's a part of you that's like, I just don't want to do the lights turning out part, you know, like the lights go out in the city type of moment here, where it's like, I wanted to keep going, but it's like you finished all the levels of this. I want to say this because even though it's not directly in the cards, intuitively I'm feeling this. How you'll know that this is going on and what cycle this is happening for is that it may be a cycle that you want to keep moving within, but there's like no more work being given to you. But it's not work, it's like no more activities. So it's like maybe I can do this worksheet, maybe I can do this one, like wanting to be active and involved, but it's like you finished all of the interesting ones. And now you can be feeling like nothing is really tethering you to this anymore. So you can feel like the magnetism of this cycle is like losing it's losing the magnetism now. So you can kind of feel like nothing is sort of holding you down. Nothing is really anchoring you to this. So you'll feel like almost a lack of interest, or just a lack of connection, or a lack of attraction. It'll be like that type of thing where you like know that it's kind of expired at this point. But there can be a part of you that's having a hard time closing the door. Like, I'm seeing you actually be like, I don't really want to do that. Feel like this is one of those things that intuitively you know first, and then like mentally you're gonna accept it. But it's gonna be one of those things when mentally you come to the conclusion, you'll be like, this was one of those things that I knew all along. But you also know at the same time that you almost like didn't want to admit it. It'll feel like that. I do also feel like this was something that you may not have expected. It kind of is like like swimming around in astral, or like in your thoughts, or swimming around in your intuition, and something comes to light and you're like, oh, I wish I didn't see that, like one of those moments, or I wish I didn't notice that, I wish I didn't pick up on that, like that kind of thing. This is the end I'm seeing. It seems very much like, are you gonna keep up the charade here? Like, are you gonna pretend that like death isn't knocking at your door? I do see the resistance being that you don't want to end something, like you don't want to call it, but it seems like that's just the natural way of things. This isn't you ending something before it's supposed to be ending. This is like something is actually at its end. And you have definitely a feeling about this for sure. It feels like something going on in your personal life. So it can be personal relationships, it can be just stuff with you in your private life, it can be home stuff, it can be family stuff. I said relationship, those types of things. It's like about your person and the things that you're personally involved in or with. Yeah, it feels like something is done. Having Venus and having Mars here, the way that I'm seeing them interact, I feel like there's definitely a big message that you've been receiving, but the part of you that's like, I don't want this to be over, I think that's really where the resistance is coming from. Like, you know that it is, but you're like, well, if I didn't technically see it, I don't have to technically call it. It's like one of those things. And I think there's also, you know how even when you know something's done with, the part of you that's still like attached to the cycle, and the part of you that doesn't want to have to go through like the pain of releasing something, I think that's also being activated, where you're like, let me distract myself by looking at something else instead of like acknowledging what I already know to be true. It feels very much like that type of thing here. But this is a personal truth of yours that you know now at this point. Or you will soon be admitting to yourself if you're not in that space yet. But I feel like you're in that space. Just have to acknowledge it. This is something that you're not going to feel like you want to do. I'm just putting it out there. It'll feel like that. But you already know. Like, this was the life cycle of something. I feel like another way that I can explain this energy, and then we're going to end the reading, it's like you get put on the field and it's time for you to come off, but you like don't want to come off of the field. It's like that type of thing. But you can't always be on the field, you know, like you have to drink water and you have to rest your legs or your arm or like whatever it is that you're doing when you're on the field. So you're definitely being like called back in, but there's a part of you that's like, I don't want to get off the field. That's what I'm seeing. Something will have lost its potency or lost its draw at this point. That's how you'll know what this cycle is. Like, you'll feel like you worked out something. The thing that initially attracted you to this cycle, to this situation, to this person, whatever it is, you're gonna feel like it's sort of like it doesn't have that magnetism anymore, because you're completing both sides now. Like, before you were in one side of the energy and this thing was on the other side, but now because you've developed both of these energies within you, you don't need that thing anymore. That's why you've completed this. All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.